here on YouTube. Bear with me for a second while I get live, while it pulls it up. Here we go. Okay, excellent. So there is YouTube. Hello, everybody in YouTube world. Let me try to welcome everyone here. Um, All right, let's see while we get situated. Okay, let's see what's happening in the chat. I got to pull up the chat. Yes, this is right. Okay. Hey, Monica, how you doing? So much better. Right on time. Yes, right on time. Beautiful people, how are you? I'm so glad that everyone is joining here tonight. I love that you guys come and join with us, that we're Healing Haven family. We are a community of people doing the inner work. And I think this is so beautiful. Welcome everybody in the private Zoom. Everybody watching us on YouTube. Hello, everybody. Welcome on YouTube. Wherever you are joining from, take a moment, settle in, take a deep breath. Today is a heavy day because we're talking about the wound of rejection. That's a big one. We all, on some level, hate. I think the feeling of rejection has to be the worst feeling in the world. So we're going to take a deep breath. We're going to give ourselves permission to be fully present here today. And we are beginning chapter 4 of the book. It is the inner work of relationship. And today we are specifically talking about, and I was looking ahead a little bit in the chapter, this whole chapter is all about the wound of rejection in relationships. And I can't help but to think about a documentary that I saw last night. Y'all, I saw a documentary last night on Netflix. Let me pull it up. There's a documentary on Netflix all about like insane, a toxic love story, a toxic love story. You talk about a wound of rejection. It's all in Netflix specials and people doing really crazy stalky things. Those are the extreme cases of you just can't let another person go. You can't let a relationship go. So that's sort of like the issue, the thing that came up for me as I was kind of reading it. Yes, Monica, I see what you're saying. Can we talk about how avoidance perpetuate it, starting with internal rejection? I am ready. Yes, Monica. Monica is smart, y'all. Clap it up for Monica because you are spot on. We will get to what's underneath this wound of rejection because rejection is one of the deepest and I think the most universal human wounds. And it can begin in childhood. It can begin in our families, in our friendships, in our schools, our communities, our early romantic experiences. Rejection is terrible. Yes, attachment styles. Hey, JP. JP, we got smart people here. You are spot on. Y'all are right there. Y'all are smart because y'all right there with me. And there's Jen. Hey, Jen. Hey, Renard. How's it going? Okay. So, I think that when that wound of rejection is not acknowledged, it's not healed, it's not going to just disappear on its own. And so it can quietly enter our adult relationships and influence how we interpret distance, how we interpret conflict, sometimes how we interpret criticism and silence in relationships. And even when healthy boundaries are present, is something. Okay. So, I definitely want to highlight those things. I feel bad, but Dr. Boyce was up there talking. He was talking really loud. Okay, yes, our book is called today The Inner Work of Relationships, an invitation to heal your inner child and create a conscious relationship together. So, whether you or your partner is dealing with the wound of rejection, and it does not mean that you are not worthy of a relationship. It just means you need to start to become aware of this. That's all that means. We're not shaming anybody today. Okay. Now that we're not, this is not about shaming people. Um, so yeah, so we're not blaming ourselves, we're not blaming our partners, we are becoming more conscious about things. We are here to compassionately recognize, we want to recognize our patterns, what activates things. And we're going to talk a little bit about how we can ask for reassurance, how we can ask for connection and honesty, and how we can ask for love. Self-sabotaging is a real thing, Rhonda. Thank you for pulling that up because it's safe. And You know, it's interesting. I was listening to a podcast recently about self-sabotaging behavior by a clinical psychologist who mentioned that sometimes self-sabotaging is unconscious. That's in and of itself. Self-sabotaging behavior is unconscious. Because if you knew that you were self-sabotaging, then it's just called basic breaking up, breaking up with somebody. So a lot of times, all of the time, self-sabotaging behavior is actually an unconscious way of wanting freedom, an unconscious way of wanting relief. Yes. Yes, yes. Book two. What are you putting in there, JP? Anyway, JP's putting some stuff in there. Okay, so all of us who are joining in Zoom, introduce yourself, new people, because there's a lot of people in here today. If you are new to the book club, join, say hello to everybody. We are not an intimidating group of people. We are a community of healers. So we're gonna say hello. If you're new, say hello, introduce yourself to the chat. Let us know your name. We can see your name, but let us know what city you're from, and you may also want to put some questions into the Q&A. I will answer Q&A questions. This is a safe and supportive learning community, and so we can only share what's comfortable for you. Everybody watching on YouTube, welcome. We appreciate you being here and part of this conversation. Remember, our private Zoom community is where you can participate, you can ask questions, you can receive support, coaching. You can connect with others who are also committed to do the work. Um, you can go to draliciabookclub.com. And also, oh, let me make sure I put in here about what to do if you want to get a copy of our presentation or a copy of what we talk about in the book club. Let me do that here. You can join us here. Oh, that's too long okay. It's too wordy. Okay, going to the inner circle. There we go. To join the inner circle, I put it in there. There's the link here if you are on YouTube, draliciabookclub.com/inner circle. There's discount codes in there if you want to get the recordings and you like what you see today. If you like what you see today and you want to get the recordings, be sure to do that. Let me go ahead and move over now. Oh gosh. Let me move over to Zoom and then remind everybody on Zoom this of course is free live, but if you want some of the recordings, because um, we're already on chapter 4. We're starting chapter 4 today. Just to let everybody know, I'm not going to go live on YouTube after today until I start chapter 5. So the beginning of each chapter, I will go live on YouTube, but the rest of the time, we're going to be in the private Zoom. Private Zoom. Hey, Deborah from NYC. Hey, Mia from Brooklyn. Is Brooklyn, I love saying, is Brooklyn in the house? I see you guys. Who else is here? Who else is here? Be sure to drop in your where you are coming from in the chat. Okay. I want to invite you guys to take your healing outside of the screen. Anybody want to take your healing outside of the screen? Jackie from California, how you doing? You were on the cruise with me? Deborah on the cruise. We had so much fun on that cruise. It was really what I needed. And it was the last week of classes when I went on that cruise. So I was stressing out a little bit trying to get my grading done, but it was so wonderful. I'm going to do that again. Go on a cruise while during my last week of classes so that I can sit at my computer and grade my papers. It was so fun. But you guys want to heal outside of the screen and we want to get into a space together. You want to get into a beautiful restorative wellness experience. Our retreats, our wellness retreats are created for you guys who are ready to rest and connect with yourselves, experience community, and make a place for a deeper reset. Come to escapewithdralicia.com, visit there, and then join us. We have one spot left in December, but we also are taking a lot of people who are interested in our retreat after that, which is going to be in Arizona in May of 2027. I'm almost ready to sign the contract for that. And so just join us. Let me invite people in YouTube world. Let's see who's joining us from YouTube. I want to invite people on YouTube world. Let me type that in there if you are interested in joining, being with me and Dr. Boyce as we try to, as we try to come to terms with everything today. I think these experiences are more, it's not a vacation. It's really a wonderful time to reset. It's different from the B1, those B1, the B1 travel, which is wonderful because it's Afrocentric, it's travel. You're with a tour guide and you're going out. With B1 travel, you're going out and you're discovering things about the world, whereas our retreat, the Black Wellness Retreat, is where you go out to discover what's going on in your world inside. So that's the difference. Black Wellness Travel will come through me and will come through us. We are doing Black Wellness Travel, and these are wonderful opportunities to relax, to reflect, to heal, to laugh, and remember who you are underneath all of the responsibilities that we all carry throughout the year. Anyway, so welcome again, everybody. Whether you came here, bring your partner, or if you come by yourself, or if you're dating. How many of y'all are dating? How many of you guys are healing from a breakup? Simply trying to understand yourself more. You belong here. You belong here. I want to enter this conversation tonight about rejection. The wound of rejection. I think it's the worst. I'm happy that the authors were smart enough to begin today's session about this chapter, a whole entire chapter dedicated to rejection because it's really, really a terrible feeling. And I think that understanding that the wound of rejection usually is not your fault. So don't internalize it like it's you, but healing can happen and that can be part of our freedom. Okay, so welcome to chapter 4, the wound of rejection in relationships. Let's begin. Let's begin. And let me get my book out here. Okay, so just to kind of make sure that everybody knows, I am reading from chapter 4 of The Inner Work of Relationships. It is an invitation to heal your inner child. Invitation to heal your inner child. What is the rest of it? Let me see. Somebody wrote it in the chat. An invitation to heal your inner child and create a conscious relationship together. The authors are the yoga couple, Matt and Ash. Get yourself a copy. And this is good. They're doing the work. Oh, so thank you, JP. Those were the JP. And Rhonda says this is page 80 if you're following along in the paper copy. It's in page 80. I am, of course, still doing, look at this, I'm still doing my digital copy here. But you do remember, let me just see if I can pull up let's see if I can pull it up. Oh, I don't have it up here. Um, they have, oh, well, I was going to try to pull up the little chart that they have. We talked about it last week. So if you want to know all about all of the wounds, and if you want to have an outline of what Matt and Ash, the yoga couple, outlines as their template for what all of the different types of wounds, be sure to go and get a copy of some of the last previous book club videos. I've done all those things. And this is chapter 4. This is actually part 2 of the book where they talk about the wounded themes. So these are all of the wounded themes that makes you that karmic couple. Remember, they talked about karmic couple. If you want to know what karmic couples are, you're going to have to go back and do the previous, look at some of the previous videos. I won't spend time on that, but one of the wounds of the karmic couple is called the wound of rejection in relationships, and that we are talking about today. So now let's begin. Okay, number 1, they say the wound of rejection in relationships. Relationship triggers are rejection. These are the things that's going to trigger you. The wound of rejection in relationships. The triggers that come up. This is where it usually starts. Because remember, they talk about when you are triggered, you are to stop and think and say, wait, I just got triggered. What was it? And for people who have a wound of rejection in relationships, their trigger is going to be rejection. Duh. Yeah, that makes sense. Neglect and abandonment. Very, very fascinating because um, the wound of rejection is saying a person is repeatedly receiving the message indirectly that there is some sense of rejection that you're noticing, neglect. That means you want somebody there for you and they're not there, and abandonment. And the root program belief behind that, the belief, if you start thinking about it, it says, I am unlovable. I am unlovable. That's what that's saying. And the primary emotion to identify is shame. It is shame. And the traumas that you have experienced that brings all of this up, the traumas you've experienced in the past will be physical and emotional abuse, sexual abuse, parental divorce. Not all parental divorce leads to trauma, but a lot of it does. Not all, but it does. Humiliation, shame, poverty, just poverty. Just think about how many times you've been rejected because you didn't have enough money, or you felt like you didn't have enough. Or like I grew up in a black community and looking good is important. And if you weren't dressed a certain way in high school, people made fun of you. And what do we do? And I felt bad if people were really, really poor. They got teased. People were poor and they lived in small houses. Or, oh my God, what's a big one? What's a big rejection one? Pickup time, when parent would pick you up from school and their car was noisy and raggedy, you know, and you're just like, oh my God, there's my mom there, my dad there. You know, parents don't care. They like, come on, girl, get in the car. But you feel like rejection. Yes, Deborah, it's definitely bullying. So embarrassed. Hair, we know hair is important. Got to get your hair looking a certain way. And it's really interesting. Now I'm getting off on a tangent. I'm getting off on a tangent. Yeah, shoe. You didn't have the new shoes. British Knight. I remember British Knights came out. It's so silly, you know, to think about it. But everybody wanted a pair of British Knights. Now I couldn't afford no British Knights, but I had a pair of Cads, and Cads were good, but you couldn't have reject shoes. Your shoes had to be name brand. I had a pair of Cads, but you know, if somebody came and they had a pair of British Knights, it was like British Knights. And it's so weird because when I went to college, everything was all about appearance. But when I went to college, there was like wealthy white children who were just walking around in busted shoes. And I couldn't understand, like coming from my environment, I'm like, why are they rich and they be wearing they wearing busted shoes? I was like, what is going on? Why are you wearing shoes busted like that? Like if I had the money he had, I'd be wearing all sorts of great shoes. I don't know. I think in white boy land, wearing shoes that were kind of run down kind of made you cool. And that fascinating because everybody was rich and no one had anything to prove. It was like very, very fascinating how money goes into it. And just to get a little bit on a tangent, how many people are following what's happening at Tuskegee University? And my daughter goes to Tuskegee, and it's all over the social media about them having a dress code now. So you can't go to Cal. And I'm gonna tell you, they have a dress code now at Tuskegee. The president of the university, who I did meet and talk to for quite a bit, the president of the university, is saying you have to have a dress code, no do-rags, no bonnets, no scarves. You have to have a dress code to go to class. And I asked my daughter who goes to school there, and this is what she texted me. She was like, that's not fair. She is not for it. She said that what my daughter, oh, this is interesting. What my daughter told me was that I want to be comfortable. This is no head wrap, nothing. And so I asked my daughter, now, mind you, my daughter is straight A student at Tuskegee. So she's not part of that. But she said, we live on campus. We pay thousands to go to school there. I want to feel comfortable with other Black students. We are professional when we need to be. That's what my daughter wrote. And so I just think that's kind of interesting. Like, what are they going to do? How are they going to enforce this? What happens if you go against it? Are you going to get kicked out? I don't know what's going to happen. Jeans with holes in, I don't know. It's very, very fascinating thing. We'll see how this operates. So rejection. So now are we going to reject students because they're not dressing in business casual? She does not like business casual. She's 19 years old. What does she know about business casual? It's controversial. So this a wound of rejection could be coming up for a lot of the students because it's expensive to go to school there, and sometimes they don't have the money. Thank you, Janice. I'm a social worker, so I have to like everything I say has to have like a social work bent. What are you going to do, university? You're going to issue out clothes to students, or what are you going to do? Because sometimes I don't know. I don't know what to say. But these are some of the traumas, and some of these did not necessarily, the wound of rejection did not necessarily have to come from your family of origin. It can come from your community. It can come from your school. It can come from bullies and all of these things that we talked about, racism and prejudice, neglect, given for adoption, given for being adopted puts you in this wound of rejection. Isn't that interesting? You walking around saying, my mother and my father did not want me. Really, really interesting. Um, Religious shame. Oh my goodness. Religious shame. Think about that. If you don't fit in a box, if you want to be part of a church community and you do not follow church community rules, what happens? You're out of there. You're rejected. I know a lot of people in my office have religious trauma because they wanted to do something different. Something simple like, I don't want to be in a relationship with this person anymore. Therefore, everybody in the church rejects you. That's religious trauma. It's a very real thing. And sometimes you lose your friendship, you lose your connection, you lose your community, all because you want to do something that's outside of this box. So that is rejection. Infidelity. Rejection. What is wrong with me? If I was okay, if I was okay, then maybe my partner would not have stepped out on me. And by the way, when someone is cheating on you, it is not the wounded person's fault for cheating. You are not to blame for somebody um, deceiving you. It's not your fault. If there was issues in the relationship, they should have brought it to you. You do not deserve that, right? Can't take it personal, but how could you not? They're your biological parents, Rhonda. I'm not saying that happened to you, but I'm saying this is what you're thinking about. This person was closest to me than anybody in my life, and they have jeopardized this relationship by going out and doing something. Infertility. What is wrong with me? Why can't I have this baby? Usually, a lot of infertility issues is the father. It's not the mother, but it's the stories that you tell yourself. Okay. Deformity and disability. What is wrong with me? There is something wrong with my physical appearance. And sometimes you can't help it. You cannot help the fact. That's why I do not like to shame people for being different, because a lot of times you just cannot help it. So those are the traumas that will give you a wound of rejection in relationships. The wound of rejection develops when a person repeatedly receives the message, directly and indirectly, that who they are is unwanted, it's unacceptable, you are unacceptable, you're burdensome, you're defective, and you are unworthy of love. And you carry that wound around with you. The wound is not always created by somebody actually coming out and telling you, I don't want you. Sometimes it's rejected Rejection that's communicated through emotional absence, somebody being inconsistent with you, somebody criticizing you and neglecting you and abandoning you and humiliating you or comparing you to other people. Okay, let's go on. Unmet inner child needs, feeling wanted, consistent, unmet inner child needs. So these are the needs, and as a child, that the unmet needs. So these are not met. Feeling wanted, consistent affection, never got that. Reliable presence. These are the things you wanted, somebody reliably present. Um, Reassurance, predictability, commitment, and boundaries being respected. What are you thinking when this happens? I am worthy of love. I am not good enough. Because if I was, I'd have these things. Everyone rejects me. I'm ugly. I'm unwanted. I hate myself and I hate my life. These are the things that you think about. And your defense mechanisms, you have a defense mechanism there that is in there to deal with your defense mechanism. Okay. Um, so your defense mechanism is emotionally detached. This is what you do to defend yourself from that. You deflect. These are called your defense mechanisms for a reason because you can't deal with the anger that you really have for that person rejecting you or for those entities rejecting you. You project, you stonewall. Okay? You stonewalling is when you just walk out in the middle of an argument, you just get up and just walk out somewhere. You don't ever come back to it. If it ever happened to you where you're in an argument and then your partner just gets overwhelmed and they just storm out of the house and they walk down the street or do whatever, they don't say they're coming back, they just leave. Being self-absorbed is a defense mechanism. Gaslighting, hyper independence, self-serving, and rejecting of others. Look at that. You reject other people because you've been rejected. Usually how you deal with this. I don't know. I think that is quite fascinating. That is quite fascinating how that is. Defense mechanism, undercompensating, self-depreciating, self-sabotaging, self-rejecting, self-neglecting, self-doubting, fear of abandonment. You're actually afraid of being abandoned, isolating, withdrawing, avoidant, and you're hot and cold. Hurt people hurt people. Yes, we've been talking about that. These are really, really interesting about the defense mechanism. So I think what they're saying, especially when they talk about unmet inner child needs of feeling wanted, consistent affection, reliable presence, reassurance, predictability, commitment, all of these things, a child does not usually have the ability to say, my parent is struggling emotionally. A child can't say that. A child can't say, my caregiver doesn't know how to provide a secure attachment to me. Okay? A child doesn't understand all of the things that's happened that got in the way of them getting what they want. Children internalize it and they say, you know what? Mothers are supposed to be kind to their children. And because my mother was not kind to me, then there must be something wrong with me. And then they start to have this belief system. They start to believe, oh my goodness, maybe I am unworthy. Maybe I am unlovable. They start to carry this with them. Um, they start to carry it with them. They start to have the shame. There's something wrong with me. I'm defective. I'm embarrassing. I'm too difficult to love. If people really knew me, they would leave me. I'm not deserving of healthy love. So, all of these things can contribute to having this wound. I see what you're saying. Brenda said, I reacted over emotionally this week to a situation. I paused, I stopped, and I thought, what's the real reason behind what I'm reacting in the way I'm reacting? I stopped and realized I had an epiphany. I was reacting out of emotions of not being included, being excluded. I hate being excluded. That's a terrible feeling. Not invited, finding out things way later and feeling hurt that I wasn't at least asked and told about. This is Brenda doing the inner work. Y'all need to do it too. Telling y'all, got to do the inner work. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing this. Absolutely. And all of these defenses, these defense mechanisms are so real for people. It really makes you um, think about these. It makes you deal with or not deal with the real feelings that you have toward a situation. Okay, overcompensating defense mechanisms, that means that the person is protecting themselves from feeling rejected by acting powerful and detached and superior and unaffected. Those are overcompensating defense mechanisms. Emotionally detached, deflecting, projecting, all of these things is what happens because the underlying message here, rejecting of others, the underlying message is you cannot reject me if I reject you first. That's what those overcompensating defense mechanisms are doing. Yeah, it's your way of taking back the power. Thank you, Monica. I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to be, involved in that anymore. Absolutely. And then defense mechanisms of undercompensating, self-depreciating, self-sabotage, self-rejecting, self-neglecting, all of these things. Undercompensating means that the person responding to rejection is becoming smaller, self-critical, fearful, and very, very passive. You could be very overly overly dependent on somebody. So the underlying message for undercompensating, maybe if I make myself easier to love, then you won't leave me. So self-depreciating, that means the person, what they do is they constantly insult themselves. They put themselves down. They say things like, nobody could want me anyway. I've heard people say things like that. Sometimes this is an indirect way of asking for reassurance, actually. When you're self-defeating, self-sabotaging, that's when a person says, a person can ruin the unconsciously, they don't know they're doing, they ruin opportunities for closeness because healthy love feels scary. It's unfamiliar. People who are self-sabotaging, they will purposely create conflict before an important event, or they may push away a partner who's extremely loving. They push them away, or they'll refuse support. That's self-sabotaging. The next one is what is it? Self-rejecting. Self-rejecting. A person rejects themselves before anyone else has the opportunity to reject them. They may refuse a nice job offer, or you know what they do? I see a lot. They'll come to me, or just this is just an example, not anybody in particular, because I wouldn't do that. But someone would be like, this person really likes me, and I'm going to avoid dating them. Or they may hide their talent. Sometimes they're like really, really talented individuals, and they're just uncomfortable with their talents and they'll hide it. Or people will just settle for mistreatment because they assume that they can't do any better. I can't do any better than what I'm doing right now. Self-neglect, I see this a lot with mothers. I see a lot of moms who do this. Sometimes they ignore their own health, they ignore their rest, they ignore their appearance. I'm trying to keep my appearance going. They ignore their financial needs and personal goals. They'll ignore that. They give everything away while slowly they'll kind of disappear from their own life. That's this neglecting themselves. I have given homework out and said, your homework is to get your hair done. Your homework is to present yourself. So maybe that's what Tuskegee's trying to do. Maybe they're trying to build people up. Maybe they're trying to build the youth up by saying you have to take pride in yourself. But I don't think the way to do it is to reject students and tell them there's something wrong with them. I think that there's a better way of doing it where it's not so controversial. Anyway, so all of these things are a wonderful way where people can protect themselves. The fear of abandonment. People can panic when the partner needs space. I know we've talked about this before. Some of the isolating behaviors and the withdrawal behaviors. Some people cope by disappearing. They just disappear. They stop communication altogether. I've seen people um, I've seen people avoid social events. They just want to withdraw or decline invitations or tell everybody, being alone is safer. So those things are always there. Hot and cold behavior is always confusing to me, but people do this. People may move toward love, and then suddenly they'll just push that person away and they'll just say, have you ever seen people where they say, one day, I've never felt this way before. I've never been connected to anybody before. And then the next day they become distant and they'll say, you know what? I'm not ready for a relationship right now. Anybody ever dated somebody and they've said this? I don't think I'm ready for a relationship right now. It's like you're activating closeness. You're pulling somebody in toward you, and you're activating another person's desire for love and their fear of rejection gets scary and they push them away. This is a very common problem with dating. When this rejection wound is active and you're not conscious enough to recognize this is what's happening, this relationship can become very unstable. Running because they don't have the capacity. Yeah, it's all of these things. Very, very interesting. Common relationship problems. Okay. Highly volatile relationship, confusion, gaslighting, threatening to end the relationship, instability, turbulent, dysfunctional, self abandonment, manipulative, low self esteem, inability to emotionally regulate. Off and on again, here we go, and pursue and withdraw. This pursue and withdraw. I've seen where, in relationships, somebody's just in that moment, they could just threaten to end a relationship. These threats is their way of regaining control in the relationship. On again, off again relationships, you guys know about that? The ups and downs of relationship. The couple may experience very intense connection, followed by some small conflict, and then all of a sudden they're going to separate and go their own ways and they're moving out. I used to work in a couple, many, maybe about 8 or 9 years ago, I used to work in family court, and I would see, a married couple would come in and they wanted a divorce and it was highly volatile, and they would bring me in to do the assessment of the children, and it'd be highly volatile. And then next thing you know, they're back together again, and then they're withdrawing their order for dissolution of their marriage, and then the next day they want to get a divorce then. So it's on again, off again, where they just use the court system to kind of regulate these on again, off again relationships, and they would reunification of the family it was temporary relief, but they had a lot of wounds. So they would bring me in to deal with just that, some of these wounds of this back and forth that was really, really kind of interesting. So I think you get what is making some of these things these challenges, common relationship problems, all of these things are present when there is this wound of rejection in relationships. How y'all doing? Let me see with the chat. Well, I don't, Vincent, I know we talk about narcissistic behavior, and I can talk about even borderline personality because that intense on again, off again borderline personality, the underlying fear for borderline people who have borderline personality disorder is rejection. But I don't want to get into labeling right now. I just want to get into like the issues, some of the issues that we tend to see. Okay, defense mechanisms. So all of these things are happening in relationships. Oh my gosh, wait, common relationship, being manipulative, self-abandoning, all of these things are happening. Self-abandonment, a person can sometimes they'll give up their needs, give up boundaries. Um, they may tolerate disrespect, that self-abandonment issues, being manipulative. So a person, I've seen people be manipulative where they'll use guilt. They'll say that they're jealous or all of these things that they use to manipulate their partner. So this behavior, usually manipulation is a behavior that comes from fear. But fear doesn't make manipulation healthy, of course, but these things happen. Low self-esteem. Um, a low self-esteem. So a person may depend entirely on the relationship to feel valuable. When the relationship is going well, they think that they are worthy. They feel worthy when a relationship is going well. Suppose if they interpret their partner as being upset with them, then their entire sense of self collapses. So you only feel good when your relationship is going well. And if there's any sense of conflict, you feel like a terrible person. You can't separate yourself from this, from how your relationship is doing in that time. Inability to emotionally regulate, um, on again, off again, pursue and withdraw. Yeah, difficulty regulating your emotion is something that's happening that's very common in these types of relationships. Emotional regulation is the ability when you experience strong emotions, you don't allow those emotions to control every decision, every all your behavior. So a person with a rejection wound may move quickly into sadness or panic or anger or withdraw or despair, right? So, regulation, um, what happens is that to regulate yourself when you move into these feelings, you have to learn how to do exactly what was discussed earlier today. Who shared that story? um, it was Brenda. Brenda shared the story. That's an illustration of emotional regulation. I I react. Let's read her situation again. I paused. I stopped. I thought. What is the real reason behind why I'm really reacting in this way? That is what you do when you're mature. That is what you do when you're mature. You learn to pause, you identify the trigger, you soothe your body, you communicate clearly, you choose a response. You make that choice instead of reacting automatically. So thank you, Brenda, for that illustration. That is adult behavior. Okay. Pausing for reflection is so important. Okay, so let's read on here. Approach to challenges, self-regulation. Yes, Rhonda. Okay, approach to challenges, denial, gaslight. Oh, deflect, self-harm, or self-sabotage. Here it is again. Seek to destroy, run away, avoid. Um, what is it teaching us? That rejection of abuse endured, boundaries with hurtful behavior, both our own and from others. What it's teaching us? That rejection of abuse is endured. Huh. That boundaries with hurtful behavior, both our own and from others. That's what it's teaching us. So, approach to these challenges. So, I think what they're saying here is that when the wound of rejection is activated, um, when the wound of rejection is actually activated, a challenge may not feel like a normal disagreement. It may feel like confirmation of your deepest fear. So when you're in a relationship and you're challenged, it's not just say, oh, this person is exerting themselves, is talking about how they feel. You're going to say, oh, this is confirmation of a deeper fear that I am unwanted, that I'm defective, that I'm unlovable. And I think that what this is approach to challenges is that because shame can be so painful, the person may focus more on escaping this painful feeling than addressing the real issue happening in the relationship. So, therefore, what they do is they just appear very irrational. It can be very destructive. They can be emotionally disconnected, but underneath them is often a desperate attempt to avoid being exposed. They want to avoid being humiliated and abandoned and rejected again. We're not excusing this behavior. We're just helping to understand what may be driving the pattern um, that can be interrupted. So, when we talk about denial, denial is when a person just refuses to acknowledge what happened, how serious it was, or they may deny how their behavior affected somebody else. Oh, it wasn't that bad. I didn't hurt you. Oh, no, I didn't hurt you. That's just how relationships are. Oh, I had a good childhood. Nothing affected me. That's denial. Denial protects a person from shame. So if they admit that harm actually occurred, they may fear that they'll have to face some of those painful emotions that they're trying to run from. So a person may deny their own pains too sometimes, because if they acknowledge what really hurt them, it would challenge the story that they need in order to survive. It's a very interesting situation with denial. And it goes on with all of the other ones. Gaslighting, like gaslighting is a repeated, typically it's a pattern that you'll see in relationships where you're distorting or you're rewriting somebody else's reality. Rewriting another person's reality. So the person starts, you end up doubting your memory, your feelings, or your judgment. Yeah, like I never said that, or you're just imagining things, or you're always creating problems. That's what gaslighting is. And again, that's to avoid some of the shame and some of the responsibility for what they've done. Remember, you're protecting yourself. Those are the things that are there. Yeah, thank you, Brenda. Brenda is a healthy adult. That's all I can say with that. Okay, let's see. Let's see. What is it? Let's get into what is it teaching? Oh, gaslighting, deflecting, self-harm, self-sabotage. I think we talked about some of this. Seeking to destroy, run away, and avoiding. I think we kind of talked about that. I just want to say another thing that self-harm could be using drugs and alcohol, you know. That's another thing. That could be something that's like self-harm, going to not dealing with the feelings that you really have. And so you tend to dive into some addictions, you know. um, seeking to destroy. I don't know, trying to destroy you. Sometimes it can come out where you're destroying the other person's reputation or trying to destroy another person's confidence. Sometimes that can also be part of what destroy, running away and avoiding. Those are, you just may just physically want to leave. You could disappear emotionally. Um, Hey, Michael, you want to leave, you could end a relationship suddenly, you could block somebody. So, running away and avoiding, sometimes that's blocking somebody. You can unfollow them and block them. A person can say, I'm done. I don't need nobody. This relationship is too much for me. I'm leaving before you leave me. Sometimes leaving is necessary for safety, but repeated is, conversations and threats of leaving is also there. So I think y'all kind of get it. Okay, what it's teaching us. What is it teaching us? The rejection wound is not teaching us that we are unlovable, okay? It's teaching us to reject the harmful messages and abusive treatment that taught us to believe we are lovable. Unlovable, taught us to believe that we are unlovable. So, rejection of abuse endured. So, healing may require us to say, what happened to me was not acceptable. That's what it is. You're teaching what it's teaching us. Rejection of abuse endured. I did not deserve to be neglected. So you're rejecting the abuse that you endured. You have to tell yourself this. My parents' inability to love me is not proof that I am unworthy. Okay? You can say the abuse belongs to the person who chose to cause that harm, and I am not responsible for it. I will no longer carry someone else's behavior as my identity. So you can reject abuse. That doesn't mean that you're pretending that it didn't happen. It just means you're refusing to continue to agree with how people lied to you, with the false conclusions that some of the abuse created. The children who've been abused, this is what they conclude. I was treated badly by my parents because there was something wrong with me. That is what children walk away from. It thinking. But when you grow up and you become an adult who's doing the inner work, what you can say is that something harmful happened to me, but it does not define my value as a person. Rejection of the abuse endured. Okay, the next one is boundaries with hurtful behavior with our own and from others. So the rejection wound also teaches us to establish boundaries when it comes to harmful behavior, both the behavior of others and our own behavior. We have to hold ourselves up to a standard of not repeating this. So you can create boundaries. You can say, hey, you can be angry, but that does not mean that you need to call me names. That does not mean that you need to insult me. It is okay for you to be angry, but it is not okay for you to call me names. That's what you say. That's what it's teaching you to say. I would not remain in a conversation where I'm being threatened. I need honesty and transparency in order to continue this relationship. If you need space, you need to tell me. Tell me that you need space. And you need to return to this conversation later. These are some of the boundaries. Boundaries, and you can have boundaries with yourself. I'm watching 90 Day Fiance. Like, I love these reality shows because these are very, very, and I don't want to put them down or shame them, but when I watch 90 Day Fiance and all the different series that come from that, all I am is looking at people who are very wounded individuals. So you can have boundaries with yourself. I would love for people on 90 Day Fiance to be able to say, I would not abandon myself for somebody else. I would not use threats to force reassurance, boundaries. I'm not going to punish someone because I feel afraid. Yes. You could be like, was it Brenda? Brenda's like, I'm going to pause before responding. I'm going to seek support when I need it. I'm going to take responsibility when my protective behaviors cause harm. So, healthy boundaries is not about rejecting other people. They are instructions for how love and respect needs to operate. Y'all get it? Y'all got to get this. This is a good one. This one. Okay. Individual healing. Let's see what that looks like. Separation of self-worth from trauma endured. Discernment of original shame restores sense of innocence and rebuild self-esteem from new foundation. A fresh start in a new environment. That's what you need. Interesting. Develop self-esteem to face guilt or remorse for any harmful behaviors as a side effect of shame. Symbolic rituals such as energetic cord cutting, baptism, and oh my goodness, my favorite, Ho'oponopono. Y'all know what that is? Ho'opono. It's like I love you, I'm sorry, forgive me. It's an ancient poem, indigenous poem, and I love it's a song. I listen to that song over and over again. It's really, really, yes, me, it's my favorite one. Like, I can't, yeah, it is Hawaiian. Thank you, Marina. It is Hawaiian. That is one of I used to listen to that song like over and over again. There's a bunch of different versions of that song. I do have the song on my phone. I got like three different versions of that one song on my phone. I listen to it quite a bit, especially when I'm meditating and all of that. Play that song. How about that? Do y'all know what it is? Let me type it in here. It's called Ho'opon. I can't pronounce it. Can somebody pronounce it? Somebody can type it in the chat. Ho'opono pono. Ho'opono pono. I don't know. I don't know how to say it, but it's beautiful. So I like this individual healing. How are we going to heal from this? Separating self-worth from the trauma that you endured. One of the most important part of healing is learning to separate what happened to us from who you are. A person may have been abandoned, but that does not mean they're disposable. A person may have been abused. That does not mean that they were responsible for the abuse. You may have been betrayed by that old relationship, but that does not mean you were inadequate in some way. All of the things that you feel may not have been there, okay? This happened to me, but this is not the truth about me. Got it? Okay. Discernment of origin of shame. Discernment, having discernment. So I think yeah, I work with a lot of clients on some of this stuff about how healing is going to require you to be really become curious about where this shame happened, where it all began. You know, sometimes you can ask, whose voice do I hear when I say I'm not good enough? When I have these negative thoughts, who is the person speaking? Because it's not me. When did I first, and I'll ask this question in my practice a lot, when did you first believe that you were unwanted? Who lied to you? We name that person. Was this shame created from abuse? Was it created from family expectations? Did it come from poverty or betrayal or humiliated? Who taught me that I was unacceptable, that my body was unacceptable? Does this belief really belong to me? Or was it somebody else and I believed them? You believe somebody who lied to you. What evidence is there to believe that some of this is true? So shame is personal. Shame is inherited, sometimes in our culture and our religion and familial, sometimes it's systemic, sometimes it's racism. For a long time, uh, I wouldn't even get angry at work. Things would happen at work that would make me mad, but I didn't want to get angry about it because I didn't want to portray that black angry woman trope. I didn't want to portray that, but at the same time, I was like ignoring my real feelings about anger that was appropriate. So you can't heal shame effectively until you understand where it came from. Okay. So they go on to say, what else is here? Restore a sense of innocence and rebuild self-esteem from new foundation and a fresh start. So you're restoring a sense of innocence. It doesn't mean, again, that you are pretending that you never have mistakes. It means reconnecting with the truth that we are not born to believe that we are defective. You are not defective. You, like many children, naturally expect love. You expect safety. Children expect all of these things, protection and belonging. Someone taught us to question whether we even deserve those things. So those things need to be restored. Your innocence may involve, when they talk about you can talk to your inner child, I also do that a lot in my practice. These are the reasons why you can heal from this. You can have a conversation with that inner child that says you were never too much. You deserved protection. You can tell your younger self these things. You deserve to be believed when you spoke out against the abuse. You deserved affection that was safe and consistent. Children deserve to be protected. All of them. They didn't need to earn it. They were worthy of it. Innocence. It's like releasing responsibility for what was never ours to carry in the first place. How about that? Rhonda Hopoke, I can't even can't pronounce that. An ancient process of reconciliation and forgiveness, meaning to make right. It uses prayer, discussion, and a four-part mantra. There it is. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you to clear emotional and spiritual blockages. Play that song over and over and over again. Just keep playing it. It's like a chant, it's a mantra. That's all you got to do to heal a wound of rejection. Everybody at some point have been rejected. So it's just living in this world. To rebuild your self esteem, to face guilt, remorse for any harmful behaviors is a side effect of shame. Wow. Self esteem built only on appearances. Achievement. We all know this. I was talking about this earlier today at this conference I was in Chicago, how you have these external based esteems. Self-esteem is built only on your appearance, how you look, your achievements, how much money you have, the type of relationship they're in, or who you're in a relationship with, praise or needing to remain being needed, all of these things. So they're saying replace some of these things. A new foundation has to include your own personal values, integrity, honesty, self respect. Healthy relationships. What's what we're doing now? A new belief. what does it say? Develop self-esteem as a side effect of shame, rituals such as energetic cord cutting and baptism. So the new belief is going to be my worth does not disappear when somebody is disappointed in me. I choose disagrees with me. Okay, someone is disappointed in me. If someone disagrees with me or someone chooses not to remain in my life, it is okay. You can create a fresh start for yourself. Sometimes healing is difficult because the person thinks that they can't do any better. They remind they the person remains surrounded by the same voices and patterns and environments that's not confirming to them, that's reinforcing this rejection wound. I also think I do in my practice is that I talk to people about, are you in an environment that's conforming to you? Or are you in an environment that tells you down? So a fresh start could be leaving that relationship or creating distance from a family member that's not kind. Finding a more affirming, maybe you need to go to another faith community. There's a ton of faith communities out there that's absolutely beautiful. I love spirituality and religion. You have to find your church home that's supportive to you. There's plenty of them out there. Do a wonderful job. You can join a supportive healing group. You can join the book club. You can develop friendships that are respectful, routine, all of these things. You can learn healthier relationship models, create a home, create your space around you that's peaceful and safe. So, a new environment doesn't automatically heal an old wound, but it can provide the safety that you need to begin that healing process. So, change your environment. Okay. All right. What else do they say here? Um, uh, develop develop self-esteem in face of guilt or remorse for harmful behaviors. Of course, healthy self-esteem doesn't mean um, a healthy a healthy self-esteem. It gives you the emotional strength to admit when you have caused harm without collapsing into self-hatred. Okay, so shame is going to say, I did something harmful, therefore I am a horrible person. That's shame. What accountability says is that I did something harmful. I need to understand this. I need to repair it and I need to behave difficulty. You see the difference between shame and accountability? And some people can't even get into accountability because they're so caught up into shame. Y'all know those people. And I'm not saying there's something wrong with them. I'm saying that, you know, sometimes you can make a mistake, but that doesn't mean you are a mistake. But shame tells you that there's no difference between the two. Shame tells you that if you did something horrible, then you are a horrible person. That's why people can't move into accountability because accountability says, I did something harmful. I understand what I did for you. Did to you. I'm empathetic to that. We got to try to figure this out. I need to repair this. I'm not going to do this again. That's accountability. But if you run into somebody with a very fragile self-esteem, sometimes you can deny, you can blame, you can gaslight, attack, all of these things. But when your self-esteem begins to grow, you are able to say, I was wrong. You're able to say, I am sorry. You're able to repair and be committed to doing something different before. So guilt can guide all of us toward repair. When you have remorse for what you may have done, that's based on your level of empathy. But you have to deal with that because what shame is going to do, shame keeps you trapped in denial and self-destruction. Relationships can never ever be healthy when shame is there. Okay, let's see what else they're saying. Oh, symbolic rituals. energetic cord cutting, baptism, and ho'oponopono. I cannot say that. Yeah, I think this is these are very therapeutic things that you can do. And I like that they put this in here, individual healing, energetic cord cutting. I love this. I may actually use this when I'm working with groups. So a person can visualize cutting a cord that's connected them to this harmful experience. So they can imagine themselves kind of releasing it. Cord cutting. I like doing a lot of burning. You can burn things, you know. So it's a good way. It doesn't mean you're erasing what's happened or erasing that memory. You're just releasing the belief that the past still owns or controls you. So that's what that means. Um, a person may say, I release the pain, I release the fear, the shame, the responsibility that doesn't belong to me, you know, but you want to keep the wisdom. You want to get rid of it. Yeah, that cutting the cord is pretty interesting. You use it in your private practice with women who carry old back. Yeah, Rhonda, it's the oldest trick in the book. It's a beautiful ritual to get into those cord cutting, burning things, baptism. All those things are about like water is excellent. Like bathe. That's why baptizing somebody, swimming, washing your hands, standing in the rain, you know, going to the ocean. That's why retreats close to ocean and close to water. Water is a symbolic, it symbolizes an act of release. Just being next to water. All you gotta do is go to the water. That's all you gotta do. Okay, you know, I am not who this shame was. You know, different things. Honopono. What is it? I cannot pronounce that. It is Hawaiian. I am sorry. It's four things you say to yourself. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you. And it's set to music. All versions of that is absolutely beautiful. And I think those phrases, you know, saying I'm sorry means um, you're acknowledging the pain, you know. I'm sorry for the ways that I've abandoned myself. You can say I'm sorry to yourself. I'm sorry for the pain that I've caused. Please forgive me. It's expressing like a desire to release and to repair. Oh, Mia put the song in there. Yeah, I love the different versions. My favorite version of that song, let me see. I have a version. I think it's by the Emma sisters. I know I can't play it because Zoom and YouTube is going to flag it if I play it, but I think it's by let me see if I can find it on here. My favorite version is Honopono. Um, I think it's the Emma. Y'all look up the Emma sister, the Emmett sisters. Let me put it in here. Emmitt sisters. Y'all look that up. The Emmett sisters. They have their version of that song. Ho Opono Opono. They have their version. It's a beautiful version. That's the one I love. And they got a lot of beautiful music. It is a release. So it's a beautiful thing. And saying thank you. I love that. That's like showing gratitude and it's very, very beautiful. So those are all wonderful things that you can do. Thank you. You could say thank you to your younger self for enduring this. Thank you to the people who loved you safely. So thank you is beautiful. Hawaii is truly a paradise on earth. Yes, it is. And you know, I love Hawaii. Okay. So those are really interesting. Then they end here. Is it the end? Yeah, we're almost at the end. Affirmations. Okay, so we got affirmations. It's healthy for me to identify abuse. These are affirmations. It's healthy for me to identify abuse. I give this shame back to the sender. Hello. I am always worthy of love. Boundaries are healthy. I matter. My life matters. I did not deserve the abuse I endured. Let me read that again. That was a good one. I love this affirmation. It was healthy for me to identify abuse. I give this shame back to the sender. I am always worthy of love. Boundaries are healthy. I matter. My life matters. I did not deserve the abuse that I endured. What an affirmation for the wound of rejection. I love a good affirmation because it's intentional statements. They help us challenge the beliefs that we absorbed through painful experiences. When somebody has lived through abuse, neglect, what are some of the other things? Abandonment, humiliation, betrayal. Y'all know what they are. Rejection. Your mind may continue repeating the messages associated with those experiences. You're going to tell yourself, it was my fault. I was not important. I deserve that. I was being too sensitive. I'm just difficult to love. My needs matter. My needs don't matter. That's what you're telling yourself. But this affirmation, it is healthy for me to identify abuse. This affirmation gives us a different message that we all need to practice. The goal is not the words, the goal is to gradually build a life that supports them. Beautiful affirmation. Yes, I love that. It is healthy for me to identify abuse. That affirmation, it is giving you permission. It is healthy for me to identify abuse. It is giving you permission to name the harmful behavior. Because I really do think that in a lot of the work that I do, a lot of us are taught to minimize abuse, to protect your parent or to protect your image or to protect family members or to protect a religious community. Oh, they were just angry. This is how they showed love. This only happened a couple of times. Other people had it worse. There are people in Africa that had it worse. Like we get these messages to minimize abuse, but we cannot heal what we're not allowed to name. So it's so important to identify abuse because it doesn't mean that we hate the person who loved us, who harmed us. It just means we stop confusing harm with love. We are not to do that. Yeah. I'm looking at Jen and Monica. Yes. Yes. So it's good to name it. The affirmation says, I give this shame back to the sender. It's you don't wish it on somebody, but it's symbolic. You're releasing it. People who cause harm, think about it this way. People who cause harm to other people, they transfer their shame to the person that they hurt. Did y'all realize that that's what's happening? Bullies. That's what bullies are doing. Bullies have been bullied. So then sometimes they'll criticize. Thank you, Jen. They'll criticize, they'll blame, they'll humiliate, they'll degrade someone. So they don't have to confront their own behavior. A child carries that shame of an abusive parent. The child carries the shame of an abusive parent. A betrayed partner carries the shame of that person who was dishonest to them. I can't imagine it. So the shame was created by another person's choice. Another person's choice does not belong in my identity. You can send it back to them. I return that blame. and guilt to that person. You know, I am always worthy of love. I like this affirmation because it separates your worthiness from performance. Many people learn that love has to be earned. You have to be quiet. Return it to the sender. That love has to be earned by being quiet and useful and successful. You have to be successful to be loved. Strong, emotion, all of these things. They may believe I'm lovable only when I make another person happy. Worthiness is not something another person can grant you or remove from you. Your worth is not based on whether another person gives this to you or not. Would you say, Marina, the shame was created by another person's choice? I return that shame to the other person. I'm always worthy of love. Yes. Yes. I love it. Okay, boundaries are healthy. Boundaries are healthy. When someone says no, or it's okay. It doesn't mean you don't love me. The wounded person may hear, oh, that person doesn't love me because they said no. Well, no. Boundaries are not punishments. They define what is acceptable and what's not acceptable, and what actions you're going to take to protect your well-being. That's what boundaries are. Sometimes you got to say to somebody, I need to calm down. I'll return to this conversation tonight before we go to bed. Or I care about you. I do care about you, but I cannot continue lending you money. How about that? You may disagree with me with what I'm saying, but that doesn't mean you have the right to mock me. Or you can say to somebody, in this relationship, I need consistency and I need honesty, or this relationship can't continue. I mean, you could say that. Or boundaries could be for yourself, you know? Um, I'm trying to think, how can boundaries be for yourself? I will not, um, if somebody asks for space, if someone asks me for space, I'm not going to keep calling them. I'm going to give them space. That's something that I'm going to do differently. I'm not going to use my trauma as permission to harm someone else. I'm going to deal with my own trauma. I'm not going to abandon my friendships and my goals just to keep a man in my life. I mean, things like that. You can have boundaries for yourself. I was just trying to think of some. I don't know. These are the ones. They're not, I'm coming up with examples. I don't know. So boundaries make healthy relationships possible. That's the biggest thing. And then lastly, they talk about I matter. My life matters. I did not deserve the abuse I endured. Yeah, the wound of rejection, I think, really teaches us that everyone else's feelings and everyone else's comfort needs more attention than your own comfort. So someone may be highly skilled at caring for other people, but they barely notice what's going on with themselves. So saying that I matter is really important. How do I feel? What do I need right now in this moment? Is this relationship healthy for me? You know, what am I sacrificing here to remain connected to this person? All of these things. I matter. I don't deserve the abuse I endured. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. These are great affirmations. I need the shame-free relate. You deserve it, Janice. Not need it. You deserve it. It's not a need. That's what you deserve. It's like my needs belong in this room too. And it's hard, I talk about moms because moms do this a lot, but I really do think that a person who, like moms who spend a lot of time abandoning themselves, self-abandonment, When they do something for themselves, sometimes it feels selfish at first. But self-respect is not selfish, because your life matters. Your life matters. Your existence is not defined by the worst thing that's happened to you. You know, I don't know. I like that one. Something to endures. Um, let's see. I did not deserve the abuse I endured. I like this affirmation. It's not, I don't like victim blaming at all. People who have been abused often search for a reason. Um, Sometimes they think like, oh my God, I should have known better, you know? No, you didn't deserve it. You endured it, but you didn't deserve it. Or I made them angry, or I should have fought back. I should have left this person earlier, or maybe I was being too difficult. You can internalize it, but responsibility for the abuse belongs to the person who chose the abusive behavior. So somebody can make mistakes, can communicate poorly, they can even be angry, but that doesn't mean that they deserve abuse. Nothing justifies being violated, terrorized, controlled. Nothing justifies that. Okay? Okay, okay, okay. So, yeah, I think you should practice this affirmation. This is a really good one. You guys get the book. I think these affirmations, I'd say repeat them, and go through it one at a time. Like these are really good. It is healthy for me to identify abuse. I give this shame back to its sender. I am always worthy of love. Boundaries are healthy. I matter. My life matters. I did not deserve the abuse I endured. This is really good. What experiences, you might want to ask yourself, like, what experiences, um, uh, what would, I don't know, what voice contradicts this affirmation? Excellent information. Yeah, I think it's beautiful. You may want to ask yourself, what evidence can I start to collect that confirms my worth? I don't know. I think affirmations are very powerful. I I like it played to music. Maybe I'll try to see if I can get AI to do an affirmation about wounds of rejection. That'd be kind of cool and put it up. I think that might be really beautiful. Saying I matter. Sometimes that's like giving yourself permission to rest and take a nap. Just different things to be good to yourself and to think more positive and to, you know, I don't know. Okay, let's move on. We got two more sections left. The last one is how to support your partner with this wound. Okay, so not necessarily you, but you may have a partner who has this wound of rejection. Respect boundaries, okay? Involve them in your life, predictable and consistent behavior, reassurance, reliable presence, consistent affection, compassion for their triggers. Compassion for their triggers. Don't say there's something wrong with them. Have compassion. Um, maintain commitment. Learn their inner child needs. Reassure them their worth outside of the traumas endured. Yeah, I think when someone carries this wound of rejection, they're very sensitive to experiences that resemble abandonment or being excluded. They're hypervigilant. Um, it could resemble humiliation or emotional inconsistency. So their reactions may seem larger than the present situation, usually because the present moment is touching this older wound. So if you believe you're simply taking time to calm down after an argument, your partner who has this wound may see your silence as confirmation that they are unwanted or that you're getting ready to leave. Yeah. So supporting your partner, it doesn't mean agreeing with things or accepting harmful behavior. I got to put that out there. But it just means like responding in ways that reduces unnecessary shame, you know, and creating some safety there. So I like these. I like these. Respecting their boundaries, that makes sense. You know, a person with a rejection wound may have experienced situations in their physical they may have experienced situation where their boundaries were ignored or violated. So respecting boundaries, you're communicating with your partner that you are allowed to have limits. I'm not going to punish you for protecting yourself, you know? So, sometimes they need space to sort things out. So you need to do that with them. Um, let's see, involving them in your life. Okay, so somebody with a rejection wound, sometimes they can be highly, highly sensitive to feeling hidden, maybe feeling excluded, or treated as though they're not part of the relationship. So you can include your partner in your life, could be sharing plans with them or including them in important decisions or in inviting them into different parts of your world, allowing them to know what's going on with you, opening up to them, I think is there and being consistent with them and be predictable. Consistent behavior and predictable, all of those things are important because that creates safety for them. Offer reassurance. Yeah, reassurance, reliable presence. Um, that's saying, I love you. I know that you're upset with me right now, but I still love you. We're having a disagreement. That does not mean that I'm abandoning you. Your feelings really matter to me. These are things you can say. Like, look, we can work through this. Okay, I need space, but I'm going to come back and I'm going to work on this. Okay, you are not a burden. I choose to be in this relationship with you. This is a difficult moment, but that doesn't erase our entire relationship. I mean, these are some things I think that you could say to them to kind of help, um, you know, because you can be reliable, you can be consistent with them. You could let them know, hey, you don't have to be perfect in order to remain in this relationship or to be present with me. It's okay to make a mistake. Like, it doesn't mean you have to be available to them at all moments of your life, but it really means like your partner doesn't have to wonder if you're going to disappear or not. Okay. Oh my God, we're already at the top of the hour. Okay, let us go. I think y'all kind of get like what it means, having compassion. What is another one? Having compassion for their triggers. That means not shaming them for what they've been through. You don't want to shame them. You want to maintain commitment. People with rejection wounds may feel destabilized. So that's an issue. Um, they may feel destabilized during conflict, and so you can offer reassurance to them. All of this. Hey, Juanita, how you doing? Okay, all right. What's the last one here? Reassure their worth outside of the traumas endured. Let me explain this one because if you have a rejection wound, you may define yourself through what happened. So people who do that, they may believe I was abandoned because I wasn't worth staying, or I was abused because there was something wrong with me. So a lot of these things, I'm defective. So reassure their worth outside of the traumas. You might want to say something like, you did not deserve to be treated that way. Like you are more than what you survived. Like what happened to you doesn't determine your worth. So you can almost like give them these, you're worthy. I know you're struggling right now, but you're still worthy. I value you. Not only, you could give them kind of support. You don't have to earn the right to be treated with dignity. You can say that to them, affirming them. Um, okay. So, lastly, let's get into the last quote from The Wound of Rejection. Let's get into that. I feel you pull away. I feel you pull away, and suddenly I'm 13, unlovable and unworthy. That's what I'll always be. Rejection is all I know. Shame became my home. But if I reject you first, I won't have to wait. I won't have to hear your no. Let me read that again. Wound of rejection is saying, I feel you pull away, and suddenly I'm 13, unlovable and unworthy. That's what I'll always be. Rejection is all I know. Shame became my home. But if I reject you first, I won't have to hear your no. And that's from The Wound of Rejection. Oh my goodness, this quote. That is really something. It's giving voice to the wounded inner child. I love this. Who is going to reject somebody first? This can happen internally when an adult relationship activates an old rejection wound. So physically that person is an adult, but emotionally, when that rejection wound happens, they become the younger part of them takes over. So the present moment becomes connected to an earlier experience of being unwanted, neglected, humiliated, many times abandoned, or made to feel like they're inadequate in some way. I feel you pull away. That's triggering that perceived distance, you know. And suddenly I'm 13. It's like you're emotionally regressing back to an earlier moment. A current episode can bring us back to those feelings and those beliefs and those survival responses from an earlier age. You as an adult may suddenly feel helpless and frightened and ashamed and desperate. Um, this is a good one. This is a good one. I think this is kind of interesting. I think one part that sticks out for me is rejection is all I know. Rejection is all I know. I mean, it doesn't mean that the person never experienced love. It just means rejection may be the emotional pattern that feels familiar. So sometimes healthy and consistent love, that's unfamiliar. They're like, what's wrong with this person? Why are they consistently showing up for me? So, that is one thing that's good. You have to sometimes rejection, that's all I know. Um, so this is good. Okay, we're almost 2 hours in. We cannot keep everybody. These are chunky and this is a lot here. So I want to thank you guys. This was a good book club. I want to say goodbye to everybody in YouTube world. Oh my gosh, I got to remind everybody if they want to join me in Costa Rica and we got people in, I was ignoring all the people. We have people here. Um, Go to escapewithdralicia.com for wellness travel. Oh, we got people in the chat here. Hey, everybody in the chat. What book club is this, Dr. Alicia? Okay, Black Lexicon. Oh, look at all the people. I haven't seen you guys in a while. Let me say, everybody in YouTube world, let me let me see if I can find my link here. If you guys want to join me in the Zoom, it is free, but you have to sign up in the Zoom. Let me join my inner circle and get the recordings. And you can always join us on Sunday. Here, let me put that there it is. It's in the chat. Everybody in YouTube, you can come into the Zoom. We meet every Sunday. This is the start of chapter 4 of our book. And the name of our book is, let me read the inner work of relationships, an invitation to heal your inner child and create a conscious relationship together by Matt and Ash, the yoga couple. Follow them on Instagram. I think they're marvelous and wonderful on Instagram. Let me pull up everybody here. Um, if you want to join the inner circle. And you guys know what to do if you want to join me in Costa Rica for a one-on-one. We're gonna do some of these, we're gonna do some of this stuff, this rejection wound. This is all kind of good. I'm taking notes here. We're gonna use some of this stuff. So be sure to join me. I want to thank you guys for being in here and being part of our healing community. And so I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm surprised by how long we went today. And I was like, an hour was all I was really ready to do today. But it just went long. This is a lot of meaty stuff. And we got quite a bit of these wounds to get through, your inner childhood wounds. So feel free to come back next Sunday night. Let me look and see if am I busy on Sunday? Let me see. Next Sunday. Today is the 26th. Oh, next Sunday is the 2nd. Yes, I get my hair braided. So say goodbye to this. I get my hair braided next week. So I will, I'll have braids. Next time you see me, I'll get my hair braided. So this is kind of like y'all don't make fun of me. The humidity got to me today. It was looking really cute this morning, but it poofed up and my kids were like, what happened? What happened to your hair? And I got to get my color back. I'm getting it together. Thank you, Deborah. You being kind. But anyway, I'll see y'all next week. And thank you guys for joining.